Hello students, welcome to another social studies class. Today we will be looking at the topic social groups. I hope you have watched the video showing the different terms and their meanings relating to the topic social groups. First, we need to define what is a social group. What is a social group? A social group is defined as two or more people who interact with each other frequently, share similar characteristics, share a feeling of togetherness, share a sense of unity, and work together as a team to achieve a common goal. It is usually within a social group that humans satisfy their needs and wants. Now, what are some examples of social groups? We have the primary group, the secondary group, formal groups, informal groups, voluntary groups, and involuntary groups. If you were asked to cite some examples of each type of social groups, these are some examples that you could use. For the primary group, go back to the definition and the meaning. The primary group is usually a small group. They have frequent face-to-face interaction, and the members within a primary group is usually intimate, right? So some examples of primary group: study group, peer group, and the family. The secondary group is usually larger than the primary group. There is less face-to-face interaction, there's less intimacy, the group is very large, right? And members are usually committed to achieving a common goal. Some examples of secondary groups: church, school, the army, etc. We also have formal and informal groups, right? And formal groups, they usually have procedures whereby persons may become members, right? There may also be a clear line of authority, right, with elected or appointed leaders in a formal group. A constitution may even be drawn up, outlining the goals of the group, the rights, the duties, and obligations of members, right? And formal groups usually have rules and sanctions governing their members, right? The informal group usually have no written rules. They have no written rules controlling the behavior of their members, right? The roles and goals arise spontaneously with the changing activities of the group. So informal group will be everything that is opposite of the formal group. And we have examples of formal group: the police force, the army, and credit union. Examples of informal groups: a group of boys playing marble or a study group would be examples of informal. There is also voluntary groups, right? And sometimes groups are formed in order to provide some service to the community or to support a good cause, right? And we call these groups voluntary groups. The Red Cross, for example, the Lion Club, right? Those are just two that immediately come to my mind. They are examples of voluntary groups. The Boy Scout is also a voluntary group, right? We also have involuntary, right? And an involuntary group is one where an individual cannot just decide to join that group or leave that group by his or her own choice. For example, a family is an involuntary group. Why? An individual has no control over his birth, to be born or not to be born in a specific family, right? So we call that involuntary group. Now, we're going to look at what are some of the characteristics of a social group. It must be noted, right, that groups continue to exist because its members share certain commonalities among each other, right? So there are certain things that are common among members of a group, right? And not every gathering of people, right? It's not everybody that gathers in the same place with similar characteristics is a social group. And we already identified the different types of social groups and their examples. All organized social groups, right, such as a school or a credit union, have certain characteristics, right? So you may ask, but Miss, what are some of the characteristics of a social group, right? Every social group has a structure. And when we talk about structure, we are talking about the group. There's rules and sanctions. There are different positions of authority, right? There's a leader, etc., right? So social groups has a structure. Number two, social groups have as common needs, interests, and values. They have membership, right? So you cannot just walk inside a group and say, yes, look here, I am a part of this group. No, social groups, they have membership requirements, and this can be voluntary or involuntary. In a social group, there's regular meetings, right? They have common symbols or marks of identity. For example, at school, you can identify which school a child attends by the uniform. That is a mark of identity. You can identify a police by the uniform that they wear. So that is considered to be a common symbol and also a mark of identity. Social groups has established pattern of behavior, and there are membership requirements. Now we're going to look at group cohesion. Group cohesion. But first, let us define what is group cohesion. All right, group cohesion arises when bonds link members of a social group to one another, right, and to the group as a whole. So there's a certain bond between members that links them to this group, right? Group cohesion is important if the group is to be effective, right? So in order for the group to exist and operate as a unit, cohesion is important, right? And also, cohesion within a group, it allows members to work together to achieve the goals of the group, right? So in order for this to take place, in order for there to be group cohesion, in order for the group to work together, to gel together, there has to be certain things in place. And one such is members of the group must communicate effectively, right? So there must be effective communication in that group in order for the group to have group cohesion, right? So members of the group have to ensure that the methods of communication are consistent and that the group's rules and goals are conveyed to all members, right? So having clear working goals, the group must have goals or aims which are shared by all of its members. All right. Another requirement for group cohesion within a group is a leader with strong leadership qualities, right? A leader with strong leadership qualities. In a social group, there must be one leader, right? We can't have every member of the group thinking, I am the leader, I am the leader. No, that would cause a lot of chaos and confusion. There must be a leader with strong leadership qualities, right? And leaders are important. Yes, leaders are important in all formal groups, right? Because there are certain responsibilities and there are certain roles of a leader, right? And some of these may entail ensuring that the goals of the group are achieved, right? The leader ensures that members conduct themselves in such a way that they will earn the respect of other members. Another function of the leader is to apply sanctions to members when breaches of the rules or regulations are not applied to, right? So for cohesion to be maintained, there must be someone who has the responsibility of ensuring that goals of that group are met, right? And that person is the leader. All right. Another requirement for group cohesion is that rules must exist. Rules must exist. And once there are rules, there must be sanctions, right? So rules and norms as well as mores will exist in a social group to ensure that there is order and stability. Right? So another requirement of social groups is that there must be loyal, members must be loyal and committed to the group. Members must be loyal and committed, right? A member who is faithful, loyal, and steadfast will stick with his group throughout the thick and thin, right? Throughout success as well as failures, right? When there's good times and when there are bad times, right? This loyalty can cause a group to disintegrate. In other words, when members are not loyal, that can mash up the group, right? So if a few members of the football team, let us look at a football team, and a few members of the football team decides to quit after losing a match, right? The team will become what? Weak. Because there has to be certain members on the team in order for it to be called a football team, right? So loyal members will continue to work hard within the group to help it to grow from strength to strength, right? So therefore, members must take a personal interest in the affairs of the group. Okay, so that is the end of this video. I hope you have learned something about social groups. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Guys, remember to subscribe, share, and like this video. Turn on the notification bell that when I post a new video, you will be notified immediately. Right? It is my hope and my joy. It is a hope of mine and a joy of mine that every student that watches my videos will get a grade 1 in social studies. So don't forget to turn on that notification bell. All right, guys, have a good day, and I will see you in our next class.